isolating, all that kind of stuff. That's probably having a toll on the well-being of being separated from support and family.
Nice, bro. I guess, yeah, you both probably touched on it already, and I'm probably sort of in that same space where I guess, there's a key component that stems from like who created or who gave the shame. So I know when I was young, and probably even, to a few years ago, feeling like I wasn't Samoan enough, so being a half caste, and typically sort of in my mind, I was thinking that it was shameful because I didn't know my language, if I couldn't speak full Samoan. But I think now when I've, got a better appreciation of, that shame is created by, I guess, maybe tradition, but also probably some of the young island boys when I'd go to Samoa, they would sort of look at me like a half caste, and I wasn't good enough to be Samoan and that kind of thing. Like, what are some of the steps or some ideas that you guys could share how to to step away from giving them or giving those components the validation to create or to put that shame upon us?
Pass over to Lex because
that's a good question. The place that I would start with the people that I work with is about self-compassion and filling your own personal well, and looking after yourself first. And so you get that well as full as possible, but also know that well, once you fill it, it doesn't just stay full. You have to keep topping it up regularly. You have to keep topping it up. And so how do we fill that well? It is stuff around exercise, moving, good night's sleep, and having good nutritious food, whatever that food is, preparing meals with our families, our spirituality, connecting to our churches and our communities and our religion, our whakapapa, whatever it is that is your spirituality, connect to that and live into that. And then once we're feeling like we have a good place of stability, then we can start digging in to some of the uglier things that are lying below the surface within ourselves. And I also just said in the chat there that when we're strong enough, we can get to a place of sharing our shame, sharing our stories. And what that actually does as well is depower the story, because now we take ownership of the story. Whereas before the story was owning us and was pushing us down. When we are in a place where our well is full and we are understanding that our story is just a story, it's not actually a fact, we can start changing it. And then you just really slowly start changing the narrative. It takes a long time to unpack it. You want to decide what you actually want to feel, or you decide what you actually want to think. So around the I am not good enough, as an example, I was like, well, I don't just want to be good, I want to be great. So how do I give myself permission to do that? Because I hold the permission. You hold the permission. Nobody else can hold the permission for you and yourself and your thoughts. So then it becomes about programming yourself every day. So I used to wake up every morning and before I got out of bed, I'd be like, I, Alexis Pritchard, give myself permission to be great. I am powerful beyond measure. I'm grateful for all that I have. I still do that. And it makes me feel so good. And it also has helped me undo all that shitty garbage programming that has gone on. And think about it, I only decided at 28 to undo the programming. So I had 28 years of garbage thinking there, and I'm 10 years on from that. So we have to start somewhere. You have to start small. When you start, it's going to feel really uncomfortable. It's going to feel really like, who am I? What am I talking about? Why do I think that I can be great or good or whatever it is? Maybe you don't start at great. Maybe you start at I am good or I am okay. And then once that word starts feeling a little bit easier to say about yourself, you go up to the next level. So, if you started at good, let's go to great, then go to freaking magnificent, and keep elevating and keep pushing yourself in that direction. Yeah. Did that answer the question? I feel like
Yeah,
I went
no,
off at a
that's
tangent.
awesome.
I think you can put the whole book into that little bit there. That was so awesome. Can I ask Wesley to put up slide 9, please? And that was, man, that was so good, Lex. Yeah, I just wanted to talk on that. And there's a guy named James Clear, and he does Atomic Habits. And if we just go to slide 9, here's something that might be useful for everyone who's on here. Certainly help me here. If you look on the left side, you've got the aroha, and the other side, you've got hate. Now, one thing that James Clear talks about, which I thought would be awesome to talk about, is that you have these traits, right? And if you view your traits and the things that you want to be like, but once you decide who you want to be like Lex is talking about, the good thing is you need some evidence. And some of the evidence that can be shown is shown in habits that you have. So the good thing about one thing he talks about vote. So if you think about voting, so if you look on the left side, we'll make it nice and simple. If you do something that shows you're patient, like you'll wait for someone to finish talking before you jump in talking, then that's evidence of your patience. That's a tick. Cool. And then peace, like you get a chance to really not add to people where you actually jump in and you say some nice things and you bring peace or you bring joy. That's kind of cool. But then you have a chaos day, you have an impatience day. That's okay. That's a tick for the hate. But the thing about a voting system, all you need to do is have more on one side than the other side. So if you have more on the aroha side than you do on the hate side, you're showing everyone, showing yourself, proving to yourself that you're a person who's more of the aroha side than the hate side. So that hopefully will help stop that shame thing where you're feeling like, man, you're concentrating on all the hate stuff. I'm sad, I'm kind, I'm dishonest, I'm incompassionate, ill-disciplined. But actually, you know, today I've proven that I'm patient. I've shown that I have joy and I've been kind, even though I was unkind earlier today. And you know what? I was dishonest to DJ, but today I didn't say da-da-da. But I did show compassion to an old lady when I was walking across the road. So as long as you're showing, as long as you have ticks more to one side than the other, all you need to do is have more on one side to really prove to yourself and to show yourself an evidence base to yourself that you are a person of aroha than hate. Does that make sense? Mm. So instead of like going down that spiral, like you do something unkind and dishonest, then all of a sudden I'm a dishonest, unkind person. And if you break it up and say, well, actually, what's the evidence that's really showing that I am the person that I want to be, that I'm just guessing all of us want to be more of the aroha side than the hate side, that as long as we have more on one side, hopefully that'll stop us from going into that spiral, that you concentrate on one thing about being impatient, and that's who you are, that one thing. But actually, if you break it up and say, well, actually, my behaviors, I'm showing evidence to the aroha side, hopefully that will help move us away from that spiral of going down to shame.
I like that, Lloyd, creating a log of evidence. I think it's like write it down as well. Not only maybe not just the tick, but write the example of where I was joyful or where I showed kindness and compassion. That'd be pretty cool. And then you can go back and have a look at it and be like, oh yeah, here's the evidence. Yeah. Here's the body of evidence that I've built up. That's
and
awesome.
If we go back to what DJ was talking before, that one voice, and it might be an influential voice in your thing, the person you really care what they think about. If you have a lot more evidence, hopefully you'll start listening to the evidence and taking the evidence into to heart and saying, you know, even though I've got one person who says that negative thing, I am not that negative thing. I'm these other things that I want to be.